Hello, hello, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Third Innings Live. I'm Behram who you can find at Def Mango on Twitter, and with me is Varun Alvaconda, who you can find
Yeah,
literally
hello.
nowhere, even when you try. And Jared is at Lords, so he won't be doing third innings today. But Varun and I are here, and we'll be reviewing day one of the World Test Championship final between Australia and South Africa. And Varun, I personally love myself a 14 wicket day, and that might just be a wet dream of sorts for a fast bowling aficionado like yourself.
Absolutely love it. Yeah, it's my favorite thing ever, isn't it? When bowlers dominate, especially as a neutral, because I don't have to watch Indian batters collapse. So it's
Yeah.
fun. I think you also probably enjoy Pakistani batters not collapsing. So it's fun.
Honestly, at this point, I just enjoy batting collapses, whoever is batting. Because
It is
it's
funny.
shorter.
There is an element of hilariousness there.
Also, I always prefer low scoring games anyway. And when it comes to test cricket, it means lesser work for us, right?
That's
Because it's
true.
not going the full stretch. I know franchises or whoever is like working on a franchise model doesn't quite like it because they get paid by the day. But we personally love it over here. But look, South Africa end day one on 43 for four. They bat for 22 overs, and even though batting was much more difficult in the first innings compared to the second innings, I just feel like you might as well play some positive cricket because one of those deliveries will have your name written on it. Like, what do you feel about this?
Yeah, that's always the debate, isn't it? Like if the pitch is really helping bowlers, like you might like the common saying is you might as well just attack. But I also think the big difference between both sides was even if when you like Australia were like let's say struggling for runs, like Lungi was leaking them. Whereas the three paces of Australia were essentially relentless from all ends, right? Even when they weren't taking wickets, Hazelwood, Cummins were both quiet, and Stark was probably the best bowler for them. So that third seamer essentially made such a big difference in the end, right? Because Vian Mulder for South Africa seriously overperformed in the end. Like
Yeah,
I didn't expect this level of performance from him, right?
quite honestly, Varun, I didn't understand when they played Lungi and Gidi ahead of Patterson because, as you rightly pointed out, Rian Mulder was South Africa's third best seamer, by a distance. And Australia literally attacked the crap out of Lungi and Gidi. I don't know what he ended up with. Like, can you check his figures? Because I feel like he went at
Wasn't it like 45 and 8 overs, or was it worse
something
than
like
that?
that. Close to run a ball is what he conceded. And look, he's come back after injury. He hasn't
Yeah,
played a
45
test
and eight
match.
overs.
Yeah, he hasn't played a test match in eons. He's only delivered 8 overs over here and he's gone at nearly run a ball. And Australia only end up with 212 runs, right? So I feel like that was a trick missed by South Africa. They should have gone for Patterson. It adds a bit more variety into the attack as well because you've got a tall, fast left arm quick in Janssen and then Rabada is Rabada, right? So I don't know. I wasn't quite for that. But maybe what's crazier is how both teams have gambled big time with their number three slot, right? Like, Vian Mulder at three is definitely vibes based, and he goes for 6 of 44. Should have gone for one, but Alex Carey dropped that sitter. And then, of course, Australia opted to open with Marnus, with Cam Green at three. Green had never batted before at three, at least in Test cricket, and maybe a handful of times in first class cricket. Why would you want to roll the dice to this extent in such an important game is what I personally don't understand.
Yeah, like because I was I expected Green at three. I didn't expect Green at three in the final because my logic was they won't bring him back into international cricket in a final, right? But I have no issues with Green at three because mainly because this is actually like we were talking about this on the group chat, right? It's the old way of picking the batters versus the new way, right? Because the old way bats pick they basically were like, who was our five best batters? Okay, cool.
True.
Shove them all in there, right? Like Smith and Hedda, we can't compromise on them. We know who's the opens. So Manus is the one we'll push to open, and Green is at three. So that makes sense. So in South Africa, when the other, they're like, if Vian Mulder is only going to average 22, if he can do that at number three, what that would mean is we can play betting him at six, and instead of him averaging 25, he might average 40. So that net
Yeah.
difference in runs might in the end be worth it for them, right? And that's a very new way of thinking where teams are just forfeiting number three now, where
Yeah.
it went from basically being the position where you put the best batter to now just being like any random idiot can bat there.
Yeah, I think Tim Wigmore has called it the false number three position, right? Because we've seen Jacob Bethel in that spot. Shan Masood does something similar, plays high intent cricket. And, in the last little while, if you think about it, maybe Ollie Pope has, been good at three. Maybe if there are a few knocks which have inflated that average. Marnus was doing a great job for the longest time and then just continued to shit the bed for a long
Kane
period as well.
Williamson when he's fit.
Yes, Williamson when he's fit is probably the best at it. Gill when he's doing well, right?
Yeah,
There's another
Gill,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But I just don't know. Yes, I get the fact that maybe South Africa tried something radical, but with respect to Australia, I really like your point about them going for just their best batters. Whereas maybe if they played Sam Constas, he could have disrupted, at the start of the innings when the ball was new and hard. Maybe some of those ramps would have come off. It is a maybe, though. That's the big thing, right? But that would have been the newer way of thinking.
Yeah, but again, that goes back to the point. Is Sam consistent? Their five best batters? They don't think he is. Like you could completely argue he is better than Usman on current form, but Usman just came off a double century in Sri Lanka, so we
Yeah.
don't really know.
That is true, and of course, the toss became very important. There were cloudy skies up above Lords, and it was windy. We know this not just through Jarrett, but one of our teammates, Ari, was in the stands today, so he was giving us constant reports. But yes, originally I was like,
He's
"Oh
spoiling it for
man."
us, by the way, not just giving
He,
us
he
reports.
definitely was spoiling it us for us because his stream was clearly ahead, and he would
Yeah,
just
that's why I was
message
like,
us.
just get drunk, dude. Delay the stream a bit, right? Yeah, exactly. Like,
Absolutely. He kept spoiling the game for us, and he had to be told not to do that. But yeah, I mean, look, I instantly thought to myself when Temba won the toss and elected to field that, oh man, I really hope this doesn't backfire, because it wasn't too long ago that Zimbabwe opted to field at Trent Bridge because of those overcast skies, and that backfired. But today was a bowler's day. I mean, 14 wickets, you can't argue with that. And Temba's bowlers responded in kind to their captain's decision as well, because they bowled Australia out for 212.
yeah, saw some disciplined bowling, and let's be fair, some shit shots from the Aussie batters. Like who? So Smith plays a bad shot. Carey
Yes.
plays a bad shot, and I'm forgetting someone. Head plays a
Well,
bad shot.
those. Yeah, well, Head was strangled down the leg side. I can
Mm,
somewhat forgive him. Carey is a bit more unforgivable because, like, look, why are you going for
yeah.
the reverse sweep when you're just going to get easy runs off Maharaj, right? And then, of course, Smith kind of gives it away to Markram. But then again, you'd also have to say that Steve Smith was the best batter on show today. He wasn't the top scorer, but I feel like he was the one who looked most comfortable. He did not spare width, lots of punchy shots on the offside. There was a square drive as well. And then he was just cutting the ball hard, slashing the ball hard, right? I feel like he kind of had the right idea with those short boundaries square of the wicket. And then obviously, like, maybe the best way to trap him early on is to get him LBW, and he managed to tickle the ball down to fine leg like twice. In fact, the only proper shot I feel that he played on the leg side was that pull versus Maharaj, if you really think about
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah. So I think they showed it on the graphics, right? His boundary balls were just really wide or just down leg.
Yeah.
And I remember earlier when he plays the shot down leg, there was a leg slip, and the keeper just gets it in between both of them, right? It was just like it was a very Steve Smith kind of day, and the two umpires calls, which were absolutely insane. One I
Yeah.
think should probably make sense to be not out. The other one was very harsh to be given not out.
Yeah, I mean, there were
The
a couple of close
impact
calls.
one, right?
Yeah,
The
man.
impact
I mean,
LBW, yeah.
the Bo Webster one. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I was just about to say should be
Yeah.
ranting on that. That was brain dead from
I
South
will.
Africa.
I will rant on the Bo Webster stuff in just a minute, but I just want to talk a bit about Steve Smith. He has a phenomenal record at Lords. He scored 66 today, not the top scorer, but definitely the best batter on display. And this was his fifth 50-plus score in his last 6 innings at Lords. It's like the SCG and Lords is probably like those two are his two favorite venues. I feel like there's not even any argument over there. That and throw in Sri Lanka as well, maybe.
Yeah, it definitely does seem to be that way, right? He loves batting here. Like even when he scored 100 versus England, right? If I remember.
Yes.
Yeah. He just for some reason it just naturally suits him. I think so. In the graphics, they were saying like Kevin Peterson also like playing along. Maybe there's something about Laws that naturally just suits some batter's style, and
Yeah.
it's probably why.
Maybe he understands the slope better than most, I suppose. But anyway, he is a class act. He's one of the best batters that this format has ever seen. Also, we saw lateral movement from ball 1. And we also saw it right towards the end of the day because that Hazelwood ball was unplayable. I don't even blame Stubbs for that, right? Like, that was an absolute seed. So it's interesting how, even in dry conditions, which had been preceding this test match in London, we're seeing so much movement off the deck, which I personally love. But also, it also kind of adds to how good Smith's knock was because he comes out to bat when the ball is new and hard and Australia are down or 2 down for 16 runs.
Yeah, and also we were looking at it. He hasn't been very good when he's come in early, right? I think he averages 35 when he comes before the 20th over, and that's over
But
like 55 when he does comes in after
but then again, he
this
is the
cycle.
first. He is the first innings merchant as well. So when you
That's
balance
where
those
the
things
other thing,
out,
right? Yeah,
you
that's the
probably end
other
up with
issue.
66 runs. So maybe that's apt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at how much the others struggled, right? Uzi Khwaja scored a 20 ball duck. Manas was struggling hard for his 17 of, I don't even remember how many deliveries, maybe 50 something, right? 56 or something. Temba Bavuma got off the mark later in the day on his 31st delivery. Wian Mulder scores 6 of 44. So it was kind of the theme of the day, barring a few players, where, like Jared said in our chat, the longer you bat, the worse you look.
Yeah, that definitely is the best way to put it, right? No one ever looked comfortable other than Steve Smith today. Like even Bo Webster was a bit like he
Yeah.
like his control percentage was much better than in the end than anyone of us thought, which is very strange, right? I think its early innings was very shaky. That's what I remember. He looked like he
Yeah.
was getting out
Oh,
every ball.
honestly, he looked like a walking wicket versus Kagiso Rabada. I don't know how he survived early on. He didn't. He didn't survive, really. He was LBW for 8. And I think the South Africans thought that there was an inside edge where it wasn't.
Yeah.
And he was stone dead. Plumbers to flum LBWs, right? Like it could not get any clearer than that. And yeah, it was bothering me for a long time because at that point Australia were 4 down for not so many. It was the second session of the day. You know that the sun is going to come out at some point, right? The wicket is going to flatten, batting is going to get easier, and you have the opposition team at 4 down for not so many. Just take a goddamn review. You've got 3 of them, right? Like why would you not want to capitalize at that point?
Yeah, and then they take one of the worst reviews I think I've seen, like where he just hits the middle of the bat, right?
Yeah, I swear that really like
I think it just fucks with everyone's brains when the pitch is moving so much. And the no balls, Behram. So many no balls
yeah.
in that innings.
Insane amount of no balls, man. Wian Mulder probably bowled the most no balls, and Janssen wasn't far behind. Actually, I'd love to see who bowled more no balls, Mulder or Janssen. But anyway, also with Australia, I feel like, look, the Cam Green experiment didn't work. But now in hindsight, after looking at what the conditions have to offer, maybe they've missed a trick by not playing Scotty Boland and go in with a 4-pronged seam attack.
Yeah, that's fair. But Maharaj was getting some spin in his defense. And also,
Yeah.
like, this is one of those cases where, because the seamers are so good, like, the batters may take additional risks versus spin that gives them wickets, which is
Yeah.
why I think Smith and Carey both get out to spin, right? Because it's so difficult scoring runs versus the Pacers that they feel like they have to attack every ball.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I know,
that's
maybe-
a way to think about it, right?
Maybe that's what prompted Carey to go for the reverse sweep. There was a really fun stat that you guys shared in the chat where Alex Carey is now dismissed playing the reverse sweep the second most times in Test cricket. Number 1 is Niroshan Dikwela with 7 dismissals, and Carey is at 6. There was also another fun matchup stat that Cheyenne shared, I think, where he kind of predicted the Janssen to Manas dismissal. How Manas was struggling versus Janssen the last series they
Yes.
faced each other. So that was a good one. And Rabada got Usman Khwaja. So it's a really good day to be Cheyenne.
Yeah. Manas did a great Virat Kohli tribute by fishing. So,
Yeah.
good job, Manas, I think. So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird, like strange game the innings day. This, I think, it's exactly what I wanted as a neutral.
Yeah. And honestly, like
Yeah.
at the lunch break, Australia 67 for 4. I felt that South Africa have a marvelous opportunity over here to roll them over under 200 or maybe even around 150. And if you think about it, Webster was LBW on 8. He goes on to score 72 runs. That's a deficit or difference of 64 runs. And 64 runs is 1/4 of 212, which they end up with. Right? So if this could be a very, very crucial moment in the
It's
game.
actually
because
more than that, right? Because
Yes.
that 64, part of that 64 is actually a partnership with Smith. Does Smith play comfortably if he's playing with Carey? What does
Yeah.
Carey do? Does Carey start attacking? Like, so many things could happen, right? It's not just like the runs that Bo Webster scores. It's what the others do as well. So it's
Yeah.
again a fascinating game of cricket. Exactly what you want from the two best teams in the world.
I
Like,
suppose
right?
so. Yeah, and of course you've mentioned Bo Webster now like 17 times or something, and there is a lot to talk about him. But before that, we shall be taking a short break. You guys are watching Third Innings with Behram and Varun, and we will be back in like half a minute.
As an international cricket journalist for 10 years, I tell you what, I have got a collection of international SIM cards that I will never truly understand. Now I find there is a company called Sally who gives you an eSIM, and it makes it all so much easier. So if you're planning on making any trips, download your Sally eSIM app, and you can also get a 15% discount if you say good areas, all one word, at checkout. Travel like a pro with your Sally eSIM today.
Back to third innings. You guys are with Behram and Varun. So, Bo Webster comes out to bat when Australia are what? 4 down, is it? Yeah, for I can't remember how many, but they were 67 for 4 at lunch. That I remember. Okay.
Yes, there was 6-4.
Yes. And then, of course, he is struggling big time. Doesn't seem like he can hold a bat even. And I'm thinking maybe this guy is too tall for batting. You know, those are my thoughts in that moment. And Kagiso Rabada is making him look like an absolute amateur. He hits one really attractive cover drive on the up. And after that is when that LBW happens and he survives. Australia end up with 190 for 5 at the tea break. That is their session. That is the session why they are ahead slightly in this test match right now. But you know, we talk a lot about how Bo Webster was struggling big time. He even got like an inside edge for 4 versus Wian, if you remember. He was nearly, he nearly chopped on that occasion. But then again, I don't want to completely destroy him either, because he ends up scoring 72 runs with a control percentage of 82%, right? And he also, like Smith, made the most of any width that was offered to him. He was really, really good with his offside play. And we saw a couple of pull shots. There was one straight pull and one conventional pull, a couple of leg glances as well. So, I mean, look, overall, you'd have to say it was a very, very important innings for Australia. And I mean, the main talking point, I suppose, ultimately comes down to how he survived Rabada and then, of course, gets out to him ultimately. But then again, that's what Test cricket is all about. You survive that spell and then you go on to make the most of it.
Yeah, completely agree. He did the hard work and then he cashed in. That's great.
Yeah.
And that you could, he probably would be very disappointed that he didn't make it 100, right?
Yeah. I mean, at that point, when Carey's wicket fell, I personally felt that Webster was like, okay, I'm just going to try and score as many quick runs as possible now. And I feel like that wasn't the worst ploy either. And in that over where he gets out to Rabada, he does score that 4 off the pull and then in a leg glance, right? And then he edges to the slip cordon.
It was a very weird edge though, because it wasn't even like he was attacking that shot.
It was a Steve Smith-esque edge. That's what it was.
It felt like he was confused whether to back foot punch it or cut it. Like it's very in between.
I mean, that's a lot of his shots, right? He's a slappy player on the offside, if you will.
Yeah.
But I was impressed with his offside play, and he ends up with a phenomenal strike rate as well at the end of it, right? It's what, 72 of 92 or something?
Yeah,
I can't quite
incredible.
remember. Something like
exactly
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
struck at a
wonderful.
78. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is phenomenal given the circumstances. And he does end up as Australia's top scorer. So it is a knock that, as much as we can kind of like take the piss out of, because it was annoying me, you've got to hand it to the man. This guy's 4 test matches old and he's averaging over 50 with the bat.
Yeah. It came down there. It was like 96 or something after the first test.
Yeah.
So yeah, a bit disappointing there. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have to give South Africa also credit for like the tail wipe out they did. The tail
Yes.
just did not stand.
I mean, think about it, right? Australia came out to bat after the tea break at 190 for 5. They were ahead in my eyes at that point, right? And they had 22 more runs and they're bowled out. So I suppose we've discussed them a lot as well. It's time to shift our focus to some of the South African guys. The performer of the day, without doubt, was Kagiso Rabada, 5 for 51 next to his name on the Lord's Honours Board, overtakes Alan Donald, his test wicket tally to become South Africa's 3rd most prolific test match wicket taker. And I mean, some of those balls really were unplayable. How do you play the Cam Green delivery, for instance, right? Like,
Yeah, like no
that
chance.
is literally unplayable. Then he gave Pat Cummins a taste of his own medicine, right?
I loved
Top
it.
of
That
off.
was the best moment of the day for me. It's like, it's
Yeah.
so good. That's what I wanted. Comments we were about that.
Yeah, dude, top of off is exactly what you're kind of hoping for, right? In a test match anyway. And then Cummins gets out like that. And then, of course, like, he wins the battle versus Usman Khwaja, which was a very, very nervy battle for Uzi. So gets Khwaja and Green within the space of 4 deliveries in his opening burst. And I feel that just sets it up entirely for South Africa going forward, right? He should have had Webster earlier with that LBW, but he ultimately gets him. And then he cleans up both of Cummins and I can't remember. Stark, was it? Yeah, it was Mitch Stark. Ends with that Pfeiffer. He's had an interesting time of late. His lines were immaculate, as some people have been pointing out. But then again, KG Rabada was born for this moment, wasn't he? Like, he's one of the most important players across both teams in this match. And his entire career has led up to this final. And boy, did he not disappoint. Didn't let us down one bit.
Yeah, I mean, all of us said it before, right? If South Africa win, it's KG has to have a good game.
Yeah.
Like,
And
what is he now? He's gone past Alan Donald, right? For South
Yes.
Africans in terms of wickets. It's a brilliant effort.
And he has gotten like there in the same amount of innings as Alan Donald. In fact, he has more wickets in those number of innings than Donald because he overtakes him ultimately. And I mean, I just feel it's an absolute shame that KG has only played, 71, 72 test matches. He was born to play this format. He was born to play in this final. He is one of the major reasons why they made it in the first place. If you think about the Bangladesh series and then that batting effort with Janssen versus Pakistan, if you remember, right? Like, there are a lot of heroics, and I'm just happy that we got to see
I'll
him.
fight anyone who says this. Rabada has the best cover drive in world cricket.
Yeah, at least the best cover drive for a tail ender. I feel like I'm with you over there, right? But yeah, he was phenomenal. Without doubt, the best performer of the day. Even though I feel like South Africa have botched their advantage and Australia have a slight advantage at this point, this was Kagiso Rabada's day. He was the one who lit up Lords today.
Yeah, I don't think it's just a slight advantage with Sri. I think they're well ahead in this game because I have no faith in betting him to make many more runs.
Yeah, I mean, betting
Like, he just made no runs after the New Zealand series.
Yeah, that's true. But then he played the most two assured strokes for South Africa off his legs towards the end,
But
right?
I think that's also because Cummins was going for the magic ball, right? Because he's like, it's the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'm going to bowl full.
That's fair. That's actually very, very fair. And of course, we talk a lot about Rabada, and of course, he has stolen the headlines. But I feel like Janssen's effort with the ball really needs to be spoken of because he's going to go under the radar naturally. And this guy ends up with 3 for 49 today. And his 2 wickets right before lunch in his second spell, where he removes both of Marnus and Travis Head. That's like 2 wickets, right? And ultimately also cleans up Nathan Lyon. That is a very special effort, especially considering how important Head's wicket was. Like when the sun came out, Head was going to destroy them, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think if Head was batting in the second session, what would Australia be on right now, right? They'd be so far ahead. Like,
at least 250, 270, because an hour of Travis Head can completely fuck you up.
yeah. Then it would be like the the World Test Championship final versus India, right? That's what happens with India.
It's very comparable, Varun. India had Australia 3 down for 70 odd, if you remember. And that's when the Smith and Head partnership comes about. And today that doesn't happen. Smith still carries on. And ultimately, as soon as, he's out, they don't last too long. And they fold very, very quickly post-T. So I feel like as good as Rabada was, and without doubt, he was like the guy of day one, Marco Janssen, literally, like he might just be one of the better performers after Rabada because those are important wickets, an important phase as well, right before lunch. We were both, or all of us in the chat was saying that they need one more wicket right now, and he strangles Head down the leg side.
Yeah. Like, Marco Janssen's test record is incredible as well, right?
Yeah.
He's averaging close to 21. And like, it's one of those things where like, it's going to sound like bad when I say this, but just like him being a left-hander is such an advantage to him.
Yeah, honestly,
because
him being like
his
that
combination
tall.
of skills with him being left-handed that make him so
tall.
unplayable.
You have to.
But even if he
put
was
that
like,
into
if he
equation.
was right arm, is he a worse Moni Moku?
Man, I don't know. I feel like he has a very high ceiling, Marco Janssen. But
I think he has an incredibly high ceiling.
I only have one issue with him. He is a bit indisciplined at times. He can get very wayward, right? So he needs to be a bit
perfectly
more.
normal for a left-arm seamer, though.
But if you are comparing him to Morne, he needs to be a bit more in the channel, no?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he was a right-arm seamer, is he not a worse Morning?
Yeah,
Right?
I
But
suppose.
I think his record is much better because he's a left-hander.
Yeah. But then again,
Right?
I feel like him and Rabada are the 2 most important players for South Africa in this game. And you never
Yeah,
know,
easily.
these guys could roll Australia over quickly in the second innings. Right now, I would say for South Africa to feel comfortable, they would want at least a lead of 50, man. I mean, even a lead of 40
Yeah, but we're
is
talking
low.
about bowling, but like they need some runs to bowl to.
That's
right?
true. And I mean, who's left? You've got Bedingham and
you got
Temba
Verreynne.
batting. Verreynne has been informed, and also
And
can we
Janssen
talk-
himself, right?
can be and Janssen himself is of course, and then of course Maharaj and Rabada can hold the bat. But I just actually want to backtrack. Can we talk about South Africa's fielding for a second? It was just beyond phenomenal. The slip catching, amazing. I mean, that Markram catch is a really difficult low catch to take, and he makes it look easy. Some of those takes by Verena, I know he takes a catch down the leg side to dismiss head, which is amazing. But even beyond that, some of the takes he was taking on regular deliveries were just fantastic. And he had a spotless game behind the stumps. And South Africa were basically 100%. Successful as far as fielding is concerned. There were no misfields, there were no overthrows, and they caught everything. And one thing that really needs to be mentioned over here is that their positioning of the fielders was impeccable. And that's something that Australia couldn't quite figure out, because there were 2 or 3 instances where the ball fell short to the slip fielders, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think Australia probably just didn't figure out the bounce was maybe not as high as it was initially, right? Except for other than Mitchell Stark, for him it was carrying beautifully. Also on the South African fielding, I think Jared will talk about it in his piece. Like, so Temba does a full dive and stops Steve Smith from getting off strike versus Markram, and he gets out the next ball. So it's things like that, right? One of the most important things in Test cricket is bowling to the same batter again and again. That's one thing we don't talk enough about. The more you bowl to a batter, the more likely you'll get him out, right?
Yeah. And also, look, I'm not saying Australia have been bad. Alex Carey had a howler of a moment. I suppose that can happen to anyone. DK was coming up with some sort of science on why that has happened, by the way. And that was really interesting. I don't remember it on the top of my head. But anyway, you catch those.
As tough pitch, you're trying to maximize weaker bowlers, right?
I mean, maybe it was something to do with the wobble seam, but ultimately, dude, you catch those. That was regulation of regulation, right? It can't get any easier than that.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about his keeping. Sorry, I thought
no. It's just that catch, right?
Keeping,
it's interesting. So if you compare Verena to Carey does a fair job other than the drop catch, but Verena was exceptional. If you look at the fielding, Australia caught everything barring the Carey dismissal. It's not like they had a lot of opportunities, but they caught well in the slips as well. But then again, the positioning of the fielders is something that South Africa got right. I'm just curious to know how much of this is Stuart Broad, because this is a guy who understands the Lord's slope really well. He kept saying in commentary how he was talking about how the surface changes as the game progresses and with the weather and everything. And that is invaluable insight, especially bowling, of course, is something which is key and they can learn a lot. But even from a fielding perspective, you can pick up on a lot of things over there.
Yeah, definitely. I think Brody is an incredibly smart cricketer, right? Like sometimes you miss that because of the shithousery he does, but he's incredibly intelligent. You don't take 600 wickets by being an idiot, right?
I love the shithousery as well. So
no, I love it, but I think sometimes the shithousery undermines his intelligence.
He has these tongue-in-cheek moments where in the comm box he's like, "Oh, I am neutral today now that my services are over with South Africa." And we all know he's not neutral. We all know that he wants to see Australia lose. But on commentary, I don't know if you caught all of Sean Pollock's insights. That guy was delivering nugget after nugget after nugget. He was great today. He was my favorite commentator of the day.
So my favorite part of the commentary was when it was him, Ian Smith, and Nasser Hussain, and they were slagging off Sean Pollock's no balls. It was like, that is pathetic. 630 no balls is pathetic, Pollock.
Ravi Shastri also had some really good moments where he went like, "I'm sandwiched between the Smiths." And then he also, when they were showing Jeff Thompson, he was like, "Oh, he started early today," or that's an early start for him when Tomo was taking a swig of his beer or whatever he was drinking. So very Ravi Shastri-esque. Did you catch the moment where they were talking or taking the piss out of Ravi Shastri's drinking?
Nah, I think I missed it.
Yeah, that was really hilarious. I think he got like a little section named after him or something. I don't quite know. And that's when KP, Nasser, and Mel Jones, they were taking the piss out of him. So, I mean, look, it's the World Test Championship final. You expect the best of the best as far as commentary is concerned. And thus far, we haven't really been disappointed. Not by the commentary, not by the cricket, not by the fielding, barring Carey's sitter that he dropped. It's been very entertaining, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's so refreshing after the T20 leagues just dropping everything.
Yeah, well, this is five notches ahead of T20.
Ahead of T20 cricket, like
as a great man once said.
It has been in terms of everything, right?
Yeah, honestly, it's been just so refreshing. I've been eating my food, sipping on my chai, watching Test cricket, making my notes.
Do you remember I was saying yesterday, I was like, I want Australia to be like 60 for no loss after 35 overs in basketball's backyard to mentally rattle them. Both like they don't disappoint. Both sets of openers for both teams. Yeah. And even the number 3.
Yeah, honestly, it was very, very therapeutic. And we've discussed almost everything, but I actually want to talk a bit about Australia's bowling. But before that, we shall be taking a short break. You guys are watching Third Innings with Varun and Behram, and we will be back in like half a minute. So go nowhere.
Sometimes you just need to take the slips out and bowl defensively. And you also need to be careful with your computer's defense as well. If you need a VPN, go Nord. NordVPN.com/Kimber to get a 2-year contract with a discount, plus 4 extra months and gifts in some markets. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the show notes. So put in some dot balls and turn them into maidens via NordVPN.com/Kimber.
Third Innings, you guys are with Varun and Behram, and we are about to discuss Australia's bowling. So here's a little origin story or backstory for you guys. At the turn of the innings, Jared messages how South Africa are now favourites, and I messaged like, wait till they are 57 for 4 at the close of play. And they end up with 43 runs for the loss of 4 wickets. And at one point, Jared was like, 57 is a long way away from now. How the turntables so quickly, Varun?
Yeah, I think it was kind of expected because I think the moment Stark was bowling to Markram in the first, I was like, I just had a feeling he was going to bowl him with that one that comes back in, and then Neely
Yeah.
basically just does that.
Yeah, I mean, Stark was really very, very good, almost unplayable with the new ball. And I mean, that angle gets Markram, as you said, he chops on for a duck and you have a first over wicket. So Australia are right on the money as soon as the first innings, or second innings, sorry, starts. And then Stark, of course, should have had Mulder's wicket. He ends up with 2 new ball wickets regardless, should have had 3 when he ultimately gets Ryan Rickleton to edge 1 to the slips as well. And I mean, that guy bowled a 7 over spell with the new ball, Varun. That's no joke.
Yeah, it's an incredible, and he's still bowling so like incredibly quickly as well. For like, he's just every time we think he's close to retirement, you're like, okay, he's bowling in his 140s. Is he close to retirement?
Yeah. And plus, he is someone
he's just such a
who's
machine. He's so relentless.
He is so vocal about how much he loves Test cricket. And I know that Cricket Australia, kind of subsidized him monetarily when he chose to forgo all of those IPLs. But then again, you still have to give the man credit, right? And I don't know how much long he's got, but for some weird reason, Mitchell Starc continues to be consistent as far as new ball wickets is concerned, and then also cleaning up the tail. So he's going to have an even more important role tomorrow, I feel, when South Africa will be 86 for 6.
I actually disagree about the tail. He's been terrible versus the tail this cycle. I think he's averaging like
Really?
23 versus the tail.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it's like 28 versus the top 7 and 23 versus the tail. Like, he's actually been terrible, which is a strange turn of events with Starkey, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of took the piss out of him, that saying that he's past his prime, and the pink ball record makes him look better than he actually is. And then he comes out with the new ball and takes 2 new ball wickets, and South Africa are reeling. So Starkey always knows how to answer his critics in a big game, right? He did it in the IPL last year, and now he's doing it in the World Test Championship final.
Yeah, knockout Stark.
Yeah, knockout Stark is insane. But also, you've got to hand it to the other two as well. I mean, I feel one of the best deliveries we saw all day was the one that got Stubbs. That delivery by Hazelwood, the nip backer, it's really, really difficult to play. It's quite similar to how he kept getting Babar Azam out a year and a half ago, if you remember.
Yep.
So that's kind of his trademark sort of dismissal. And then Paddy Cummins, of course, like, I feel like with Mulder, it was a matter of time. So you might as well, if you were Wian Mulder, you'd go out slogging. No?
Yeah, like, I think I actually didn't mind Mulder's innings because his entire existence is delay Bavum and Stubbs. He did his part. It's just one of the openers had to stick with him.
Yeah,
Right?
he plays 44 deliveries.
Can we talk about Aiden Markram averaging 4 versus balls at his stump, by the way? What the hell?
There's another interesting one. It's the Bo Webster one, isn't it? Where he is averaging 8 versus the balls at the stumps or anything, or something like that. I can't remember that one.
Even Bo, like, how is Aiden Markram only averaging 4?
Well, Aiden Markram's
I might
test record
accidentally average more than that versus balls at the stump.
Dude, I don't know if you've ever broken down Aiden Markram's test record, but away from home, he is worse than a replacement player. But then he's also one of those players who can give you a magic innings. And he has all of that experience, so you can't drop him. And plus, he took that catch today. Also, Janssen took that catch at 3rd attempt, right? So there were some really, really important moments in that regard. But yeah, I mean, with Markram, again, I would much rather see him trying to disrupt things when the ball is new and hard, as opposed to, I don't know. Maybe I'm being too cruel because he doesn't even last a single over, right?
Yeah, I think it's the first, so I can't blame him too much. Stark also bowled very well. Like, it's a very unlike Mitchell Stark over, because usually Stark does give you like a one filthy ball in the first over.
Yeah.
He was just brilliant in his spell.
Yeah, even with his seventh over, remember that full length delivery that nearly had, I can't remember who, LBW? Maybe it was Temba?
He was a right-hand batter, wasn't it?
It was a
That's what I
really, really
remember.
good. Yeah, it was a
Yeah, it was
right-hand batter. It was just
it
tailing
came in,
away.
but came back in. Yeah, it was an umpire's call,
yes.
LBW, right? Ah,
But
I
like,
can't remember
no
who it
one's
is now.
raising their finger on that one. It might have been Temba. And Temba himself, like, I had a lot of people messaging me about Temba. And they were like, oh, what the hell is he doing? It's been 30 deliveries. Why can't you get off strike? And then there was Cheyenne, who was saying that he should bat time. What do you think Temba should have done? I feel like there are good arguments in both areas.
Yeah, I think their issue was when Timba and Mulder were both dead batting. I think that's kind of when they had a problem. Someone had to keep the scoreboard ticking. As much as I completely enjoy dead batting, there
Yeah.
you still have
Also-
to make runs at some point, right?
Anyway, Omelette Banana really wants me to answer his question. So he's asking me if where am I watching this game, dude? There's a streaming service called TapMad. That's where we watch it over here. But yeah, if you don't like the show, you don't have to tune in, buddy. Anyway, so Cummins and Hazelwood then get the last 2 wickets. South Africa 43 for 4. Things aren't looking too bright. Even though the surface is supposed to flatten out and get better for batting, Varun, I just am not too confident that South Africa can reach 200 over here.
Yeah, like, is it supposed to get flattened out for batting? Because I'm honestly not sure at this point. Like, no one's made any runs.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Like,
There's
Himanish
definitely-
has
there's
told us that
definitely-
it has seemed less, so maybe there is
Yes.
some promise there.
what was the exact number? I feel like it was seeming
It was 0.83 in the
0.78.
first.
Oh.
No, it was 0.83 in the first innings and 0.48 in the second.
Yeah, so I mean, that is nearly half, right? So it should be easier to
Yeah.
bat out there, but that also tells you that Australia's bowlers have actually bowled better, right? And
Yeah,
as you
because
said, there
all
were
their
some
three
dismissals.
seamers did well, right? All three of the
Yes.
seamers bowled well.
Honestly, yeah. And I mean, that's why I say that maybe they missed a trick by not playing Scotty Boland, because he would have absolutely wrecked South Africa on this sort of surface. But yes, you know, the start of the innings, obviously, there was insane lateral movement, and throughout the first innings, but the start of innings in particular, because there were 3 maidens on the trot, and then Khwaja goes for a 20-ball duck. And even in the second innings, like if you look at the Hazelwood dismissal, there was a lot of deviation. But then again, I feel like tomorrow will be a better day for batting. It's only that I don't trust South Africa to make the most of it.
Yeah, as I said, I have zero faith in David Bedingham. He's made like he hasn't made enough runs for me to be confident in him, right? Like also,
Although-
South Africa, yeah, they do need to decide what they're going to do with him. What's the point of him being a number 6?
I mean, I actually didn't mind him being a number 5 because I was never going with the Mulder at 3 proposition. I wanted Stubbs at 3, right? And I wanted David Bedingham at 5 because he is a bit more reliable and he has played a lot in these conditions because he's been a county cricket player for Durham. But you'd want him to go out there and bat when the ball is a bit softer. That hasn't been the case. Tomorrow will be a new challenge. Australia's bowlers will be fresh. The pressure will be on South Africa, and they will know that they need somewhat of a lead.
They won't get it. Like is my feeling.
No.
I don't see how they're going to get it.
I mean, a 100-run partnership is what they really need. And I suppose Temba is the guy they really have to rely on because what? He's averaging 50 plus in this World Test Championship cycle. He has been their best batter. He is the captain.
Yeah, I think he's been good when he's come in early or when he's come in when the ball is soft. So that's a good sign for them this cycle.
He's also played 1,800 deliveries by now. You know? Like,
He should be set. He should be set.
well, you always have to kind of play yourself back in when there is like a new day in Test cricket. But
Yeah.
I have a weird feeling that we might just get a 3-day Test match over here. Somehow I feel this won't bleed into day 4.
Yeah, again, I think Nathan Lyon would be useful with the spin bowling at some point, but like I don't think the game will last till then. That's the issue.
Yeah. But anyway, here's to hoping that South Africa can make a fist of this. And Varun and I will be back tomorrow once again after the end of day's play.
Unless
We will
South
be-
Africa completely capitulate, then we can't go and do it.
I mean, we still have to now because we've started this and we finished what we
If they
start.
get all up for like 80 and then Australia like 250 for no loss, I don't think we have the heart to do it.
Honestly, I'm not giving South Africa much of a chance, but I'm going to echo Matthew Hayden's sentiment, where, one of these deliveries will have your name written on it. You might as well play some positive cricket and see where you get, because if they continue to block, I feel like they might not even get 150 runs.
Nah, no chance.
Yeah, so I get that at the start of the innings, when you hadn't lost many wickets, you were trying to hold the fort and see off the day. But at this point, I just don't see a lot of value in that approach, and I don't want to see a dead final. Like, come on, Proteas, make a fist of this. Give us like a 4-day test match. Give us a fight. Win it for us, goddammit!
Yeah, maybe I think the best thing they can do is probably just have a target where they're like, okay, let's just go at 3.5 to 4 and over.
Yeah.
I think they could do it. Semba's good at ODI cricket, and Beddingham's naturally quick. So I don't think it's unrealistic for both of them.
I did get a wee bit encouraged with Beddingham's shots towards the end of the day, but to your point, Cummins was looking for the magic delivery, right? So those are things that need to be considered. Also, one last thing. What do you make of the bounce on this surface? I know him, Manish, or Jared sent something that him and Manish sent.
Yeah, it was a very interesting graphic, right? Lords just has a low bounce, which is very interesting.
Yeah. And I mean, that's probably why we haven't seen a lot of short stuff, barring some deliveries by Janssen.
Yeah, but even when they've tried it, like we saw with Manus, right? He tried ducking it, and it just like he ends up pulling one when he tries ducking it.
The duck pull, right?
The duck pull.
Yeah. That's what Haydos called it as well at that point. And I mean, I'm really interested to see how this surface kind of evolves over the course of however many sessions that we get in this test match, because it does look a bit weird. And does it get worse for batting? Does it get easier for batting? What is the weather like? Will the sun shine? We don't know all of these things, but we will tomorrow. And here's to hoping that we get another compelling day of...
We'll see a day 4? Because I don't think we'll see a day 5.
I personally feel that even if we get to see a day 4, we might just get to see a single session. That's where I'm at. But then again, this is all mere conjecture. For all we know, Temba and Beddingham are batting till tea, and South Africa have a lead of 107.
All right, so let's just do a prediction then, right before we end it, we usually do with the Good Areas Lives. So, what do you think will be the end of the day score tomorrow?
I feel like South Africa will be bowled out, and Australia will be leading by 80 runs.
Wait, South Africa will be bowled out, and they'll be... What will they be bowled out for?
Oh, well, I mean, let's give them 182 runs. So they concede a deficit of 30, and then Australia score 50 runs, and they lose 2-3 wickets as well. How about that?
Okay, I like that thinking. So, I don't think South Africa cross 150.
Ah, damn, Varun.
Yeah. I just have no faith in them. Like at this point. Plus, it's knockout Australia.
That's also true. It is knockout Australia. Hazelwood has never lost a final in his life.
Is Australia have not won a game where they have scored less than 300 in the first innings since 2020.
Ooh, very interesting. So let me pose this question to you before we leave. Do you think that any single South African batter tomorrow will cross 50?
Yeah, I think so. I think like one of them will luck their way through it.
Okay. Well, anyway, you guys leave your predictions in the comments section below as well. That kind of wraps up this episode of Third Innings. As I said before, you can expect both Varun and myself to be going live on Third Innings in this test match. And then, of course, once it's done, I'll be reviewing the game with Jared as well. And you guys will be getting lots of content in between as well, because we've recorded heaps for you. And there's a brand new Crick Picks panel this week as well, which you guys should look out for. But that kind of wraps this up. And hope you enjoyed the show. Just a quick reminder, you can go to goodareas.co and bookmark that webpage. That can prove to be your one-stop shop for all the fun work that we do as part of this team, whether it be written content, videos, or podcasts. And that is all. Have a good one, guys. See you after day 2, and goodbye.
Ross Taylor couldn't see at night or when the clouds were in. Eventually, he had to see an eye specialist who would fix his eyesight. In the 2 years before the change, he still averaged more than 50 in international cricket. The top level of batting talent can basically see in the dark. That is who we are talking about in our new book, The Art of Batting. Head over and order your copy today.